Hello everyone, this is my first video, so bear with me. I'm going to show you the I-cord cast on a loom. This is the Martha Stewart knitting and weaving loom, a little piece of it anyway. I'm not really strong enough to get the pins in deep, so they sometimes come off. The stitch, when you do this on needles, it sits really snug against the knitted fabric. But with a loom you can't move the stitches close together, so you get a bit of room between the I-cord and the knitted fabric. And when you do something like a seafoam stitch, like this one here, it can actually look really nice. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to work with a 3-pin I-cord. You can do 2 or 4 pins, whatever you want. We're going to start casting on with 3 stitches, so a drawstring, or I'm sorry, a slip knot. You put it on the second peg, not the first one. We're going to do well, like I said, a 3-stitch I-cord. So every time we do the I-cord, we're going to make a new stitch on this side of the loom. At the end we're going to bind off the I-cord. So if you need a total of 7 stitches, you have to do the cast on for 10, because you're going to bind off the last 3. Don't confuse the tail and the actual working strand. Okay, with the I-cord you don't go to the left and then to the right. You only knit to one side, in one direction, because the little strand that goes to the other side, it pulls the stitches together, so it becomes a cord instead of just a flat piece. So now we're on this side, and usually you'd go to this pin now when you slip a stitch. But we're going to go straight to this pin, and we're going to pretend like the working yarn is coming from this side. So we're going to go behind the pin, the peg, go in front of it, and we're going to knit. But we're not going to pull up the old loop. We're just going to pull this one over and put it on this peg. On regular needles this is called knit one in front, one in back, so we're going to knit it off now, like a regular stitch. And we're going to knit the other 2. And then we've made 1 stitch. Again, these 3 pegs are the I-cord. This is the actual cast on stitch. We've cast on 1 stitch now. So we're going to move these 3 stitches over to 1 pin. This can be a bit tricky later on because it can get pretty tight. I'm going to pull this tight. Then we're going to go to this pin, like the working strand is coming from this side, so behind it, in front of it. And again, we're not going to knit over the bottom loop. We're just going to make a new loop and put it on the empty peg. So I'm going to take it, pull it over. It's completely behind the peg and now on the new peg. So you're not doing this, you're going to take it behind the peg and onto the new peg, of the empty peg in any case, and put it tight and knit the I-cord. So now we're going to move over the I-cord 1 peg again. So you never touch these 2 stitches again. We now cast on 2 stitches and we leave them as they are. We don't knit them in unless we're done casting on. again with it tight. I do not knit in this direction. We only knit in that direction, so I pull it behind all the pegs like it's coming from this side, knitting off the first peg of the I-cord. Well, not knitting off, we're making a new loop. It's normal if it looks kind of messy in the back at first. It only starts to look pretty when... Oh, I didn't get the entire loop this time. It's just going to start looking pretty once you're done casting on and doing your first row of actual knitting. What we're doing here is we're actually knitting sideways. I'm going to show you the back. It looks really bunched up. And you can see here that the first peg, and every time we make a new stitch, it gets really stretched. That's the extra yarn you're going to see between the I-cord and the knitted fabric. When you're doing this on needles, you pull the stitches very close together, so it's really snug, but you can't do that on a loom. If anyone finds out how to do it, I'd love to hear. So we're going to move the 3 stitches over again. For those of you who get it and want to get on with it, you just bind off the last 3 and start knitting. I'd advise against slipping the first stitch, because then the end just gets a bit bunched up, because you don't have any extra yarn between the I-cord and the knitted fabric there, and you have it here, so that looks really messy if you do that. It's getting pretty tight here. Yeah. I tend to knit pretty tight, just so it should be a bit looser than this. Remember to pull this last stitch snug. When you move the stitches over, you actually make that loop bigger. It shouldn't be too big, because then your I-cord itself gets loopy and we don't want that. We want it to be nice and snug. You can do this on any loom really. I prefer the Kiss loom because yeah, it has a great feel to it, and the extra pins behind the pegs just ensure that I don't knit too tight. I tend to knit way too tight on anything like the Nifty Knitter or the Martha Stewart loom. So we're going to move the 3 stitches over. See, I'm making this loop a lot bigger now, so don't forget to tighten that when you're done. You can also do it with about any hook. I use a hook from the hardware store, because, like I said, I tend to pull to knit way too tight, and I end up bending on my hooks. And this has a nice and long handle. That really helps. I did have to sand down the top a bit, because I ended up drawing blood on my own fingers and slicing the wool because it was too sharp. So we're almost at the end, and then I'm going to show you how to go to normal knitting. When you move over the stitches, you have to make sure that there's nothing around the last peg anymore. A friend of mine tries to pull them over two pegs, and then it gets really messy. You shouldn't do that. So, one more to go. There goes my peg. It's the downside to this loom. You can very easily replace the pegs, and that's a plus, but it's also a minus, because they tend to come loose while you're knitting. Again, especially if you're knitting as tight as I do. Oh, I twisted it. The last three. So. You can do the cast-ons and bind-offs in any way you like. Doesn't really matter, because it's only 3 stitches, you're not really going to see it. I just like to do a very basic bind-off. So we're going to bind off these 3 stitches, because they're the I-cord, and we're done with the I-cord now. I'm going to move this over to this bag. Knit it off. Move this here. So we're knitting off one more. And when we're doing the last one, be sure to give it some extra yarn, so it has the same amount of extra the rest has. You can see here they all have a bit of extra room, so pull it a bit to make sure it has the same amount of extra yarn on the stitch. And now you can start knitting. Like I said, I advise against slipping this first peg on the first row, because it will leave you with a strange looking ending to the I-cord cast on. So I'm doing a regular row of E-wrap here, or the twisted stockinette stitch, as it's also called. And that's the I-cord cast on. I will show you the result one more time. Backside. You see, this is a nice round edge to it. It will pull a bit. You see here the little strands from where you skipped those two pegs to go to the other side. When you pull it a bit like this, it closes up a bit. If you make a longer I-cord, it closes better. And when you do that on the compact kiss loom, it will look like this. Really nice, round, non-rolling edge, which also looks nice on the back side. That was it for today.